This video looks at the area around Golden Ball Street and Cattle Market Street, which together wind their way from the city end of Ber Street to the city end of Rose Lane. This is Golden Ball Street and this is Cattle Market Street, both as seen from Castle Gardens. Back to the Ber Street end and looking into Golden Ball Street looked like this in 1937, but bring it up to date and this is the same view in 2023. This is the Woolpack pub in 1936, but in 1938 it was rebuilt on a site further away from the street and further from Timber Hill and is still instantly recognisable in 2023. Across the road, Grout's Thoroughfare is on the left, originally one of the old city yards, now adjoining Castle Quarter, seen here being built in the 1990s. Next door is number 18 Golden Ball Street, this picture after some restoration work in the year 2000, and this one as Swift's confectioner and tobacconist in 1936. From outside number 18 and looking back across the street looks like this in 2023, but travel back to the year 1860 and this would have been the equivalent view. In the distance you might just be able to make out the pub sign for the Golden Ball, which we will see again shortly. We're now looking directly across Golden Ball Street at the site of the former Rising Sun Lane, lost in the early 1960s. On the right hand corner this was the view into Rising Sun Lane in 1936, and on the left hand corner was the Golden Ball, and there is a closer look at its sign. Looking back at the area we've covered so far, this is a 1967 view of the Plough pub on the corner of Golden Ball Street and Farmers Avenue, compared to the 2023 equivalent. Now we move on to Cattle Market Street, previously known as Common Pump Street and Buffcoat Lane. This is the top end of Cattle Market Street compared to the 1961 view, with Rising Sun Lane to the right and Cattle Market Street to the left. The furthest building in this block was the Buffcoat pub, better seen in this 1960 photo, and that gave the street an earlier name. The Buffcoat was where the Rouen Road Junction is now located. Dating from the early 20th century, this is the former Cattle Market Drill Hall, used for such purposes until after the Second World War, and now offices for a firm of architects. Known as Crystal House, number 24 Cattle Market Street was constructed in the 1860s as a showroom for engineering company Holmes and Sons. This photo is from 1962. This is the Shire Hall Tavern in 1986, on this site since the 1860s, having relocated here when its previous location was demolished for the construction of Prince of Wales Road. It closed as the Owl Sanctuary in 2016. Walk along the passageway at the side of the former Owl Sanctuary and you see some modern housing on the former site of St Peter Parmountergate School, highlighted here in green. Back on Cattle Market Street, this is number 31, seen here in 2001 and known as Nadler House in 2023. Until 1917 it had been the Lion Inn, and you can see two lions on the roof, which may or may not have inspired an England World Cup song. All the buildings from Crystal House downwards date from the 1860s, and this was the Builders Arms from 1868 until 1968. Across the road this is the Steam Packet, having previously been the Market Tavern from 1908 until 1993. Before that it had been the Old Steam Packet. This is the entrance to Castle Quarter, seen here being built on the site of the old cattle market in 1992. This area has changed significantly, but I've tried to replicate historic images as accurately as possible. This is Farmers Avenue outside View Cinema, and in 1990 a bridge was being put in as part of the realignment of the road. This is the 2023 view at the far end of Farmers Avenue, which in 1960 had looked like this, a pig compound with the Golden Ball pub in the background. Looking from Castle Gardens to the site of the Bell Hotel, this was the site of Bell Avenue in 1960. In the late 70s or early 80s, a night out might have concluded with a King Beefy sold from a van on the left hand side, or possibly a Zax sold from Farmers Avenue. A quick look and this might look like the building of Castle Quarter, but it's actually air raid precaution work in 1939, with this being the 2023 equivalent. An attractive park is now on the top of Castle Quarter, the levels of which can make the recreation of photos difficult, but I hope you get the idea of the comparison in these final photos.